Don't turn off the lights. Don't close your eyes. It's time to descend into the depths of the outdoor underworld as At Your Leisure with Chad and Corby Booth goes paranormal. Join the booths as they try to find evidence of the world beyond our own. Then we'll travel reporter Stephen Human survive the torture chambers and hidden dungeons of a Mexican prison. Prepare yourself because AYL's Halloween special starts now.
Well, Halloween approaches, and it's time where you look for something a little bit out of the normal to do. And we are certainly accomplishing that tonight on At Your Leisure. Hi, I'm Chad Booth.
And I'm Corby Booth. And today we are up at the Fort Douglas Museum at the University of Utah, and we are with the Paranormal Investigations team of Utah, and we are here to find some real paranormal activity.
Yeah. Now, I know at Halloween time everybody likes to talk about ghosts and get all spooked out and everything, but we are really setting out to do some very scientific research with some very heavy-duty equipment and some very specialized people that take a very scientific approach to this. And we have Michael Zimmer with us and Jennifer Doan, and they are part of the PI team. And tell us a little bit about your organization and what you do and what we're looking for tonight.
Well, what we're looking for is paranormal activity, of course. Anything from disembodied voices we pick up on our recorders, any kind of visual activity, something moving. We have a lot of people call us and ask us to come into either residential property, a home, or a place like this. And then we can sometimes go out and try to get into different locations that have a reputation for activity. Like Fort Douglas here, it's got a good reputation. Mm-hmm. We've investigated here before, had some good activity before, so we're really excited to be here tonight.
Are you spooked about this energy, or do you find it fascinating? And
fascinating, absolutely fascinating.
There's times that it can be spooky, but I think we go into it looking to find something, so we're not caught off guard, and to us it's more about finding what's out there. You can sense when the room changes. Oftentimes we'll go into a room to set up, and it'll feel like any normal room that you might have anywhere, and then you go back a few minutes later, an hour later, and it just kind of feels heavy, or maybe the hair on the back of your neck will stand up.
Well, we're going to let you guys get ready. We know you have a lot of setup, but right now we're going to go to a story that I think you guys will really like. When we were down in Veracruz, Mexico, there was a 16th century dungeon that Steve visited that I bet you might have some activity you want to check out.
You know, that dungeon was a pretty popular place. I mean, really, not by demand. It's just popular that there are a lot of people there. In fact, some of those dungeon rooms were so packed, if somebody got the flu, within 2 days everybody in that whole dungeon area would have the flu, and within 3 days they were all dead. Now talk about some paranormal readings there.
Yeah. I don't know if this is that dramatic here, but we are down in the basement of Fort Douglas. It's built in the 1870s. It's a pretty old part of the building. Right now the PI team is setting up all of their equipment so that we can monitor the activity going on here.
Now, I've got a question for you. Okay. What are we setting up? This is like a camera of some sort.
Yes, this is our infrared camera, so it shoots in complete darkness. It's perfect for this. They use them mainly for security, but for the paranormal, it's excellent.
Well, let's check out this room.
It gets even
here.
cooler.
Yeah.
This is the original old. I mean, if ghosts or paranormal phenomenon like familiar things,
they should be in here.
This is going to be a good place for it, because this is the original foundation of the building. These old timbers held together with wood pins. I mean, this is so old there aren't even nails in it. That's right. So you know, if you want to be set up for something that invites something of a paranormal nature, this is a good place to be.
Way cool and kind of spooky. Well, we're going to check more of the paranormal activity here at Fort Douglas, and when we come back, Roger is cooking up some sweet treats. Welcome back to At Your Leisure. Well, I am sure you're wondering why we decided to come to Fort Douglas to look for paranormal activity. Well, one of the criteria that the PI team decides, before they choose a site, is either history of finding paranormal activity or history in itself. This is a very old building, a very old area, and it has a lot of history in itself.
That's right. We're here with Bob Voiles, who's the director of the Fort Douglas Museum, and if you're going to have connections from another time, another dimension, this would be pretty rich, fertile ground for it, I guess.
Oh yeah, it is, and there's been a lot of history here, a lot of dramatic history, things like suicides and murders, etc. So perfect setting for having some kind of paranormal activity or disgruntled spirits that just don't have closure yet. There have been a lot of stories in the past of strange happenings, of sightings, of kind of fleeting sightings of apparitions. At the time that families actually lived in these officers' quarters, there were numerous stories of strange happenings in the basements of those quarters. And in one story in particular that I remember a resident telling us was the family dog would bark at the head of the steps and refuse to go down the basement. They would go down the basement and they would find the kids' toys that had been scattered around after they'd been put away. And then on other occasions, one of the small children would come up to his parents and say, "Who's that man in the basement?" And they'd go down and investigate, and there wasn't anybody there.
Well, we could stay here and tell these stories all night. I'm just absolutely fascinated by it, but we've got a Paranormal Investigation to get on with, and we've got to break away for our trailhead adventure. And we are going to go in search of another elusive character, not paranormal, but parasized. We're in search of Bigfoot. Any Halloween story we have, as well as any story we've ever had, you can find out about on the At Your Leisure website, AYLTV.com. If you've not checked it out, do it. And if it's not your homepage, make it your homepage, which you can do now with the new improved site. Okay, team, what are we doing here? What is this green, glowy, ghosty light out here in the middle of all this darkness?
Well, this is a meter, and it measures just the EMF in the general vicinity.
It measures electromagnetic fields. So what are you looking for?
We're just looking for any EMF field that just doesn't belong or is higher than the normal. In this particular area, you can see that the meter's reading 0 right now. But if we move along, you'll see it start changing. As we get closer to a hot spot, it'll start spiking up into the higher digits.
So there's some kind of electromagnetic activity here when does it become a really high reading?
Usually when you see really high readings, it's being put off by an electrical device of some sort. Like, the furnace over here behind you is putting off 20. Some of the electrical conduits we have running overhead will put off 30 to 100. It's
like if we were in a concrete bunker with no electricity and no lights and no power source, and all of a sudden it spiked, you'd go, aha.
Right, exactly.
And how do you feel when that happens? I mean, has that ever happened as you've been out on these things?
We've had it happen a few times where it just would spike out of no reason. We had one instance where we could actually follow the EMF field around a room, like it was just
moving
walking around.
And what's great, if you catch the EVPs and pictures and video and get this at the same time, you've got everything backing each other. And it's just another great.
See, now, just talking about starting to make the hair like tingle a little bit on the back of my head. This is kind of exciting. Well, Corby?
I'm back here.
Okay, just want to make sure we hadn't lost you.
Nope.
This is just really fascinating. I'm really excited to see some of all the results come together. We'll be back in a minute with more of At Your Leisure at Fort Douglas in the basement of the museum for our Halloween special. Well, that's all the time we have for the show this week. This has been a lot of fun. It's been very informative, both from a paranormal standpoint and from a historical standpoint. And if somebody has some inquiries about either like joining the team or has something going on at their place, how do they get in touch with you guys?
Well, they contact us through our website at www.pitteamofutah.com.
Well, thank you for the information. Thank you for letting us tag along and kind of mess stuff up tonight. And we'll look for you next week on At Your Leisure. Between now and then, make sure that you get out with your family and friends and enjoy the great outdoors or the haunted basement at your leisure.
Cool architecture in the...
3,